presentation is Sean Kenny.
I didn't name it.
I didn't name it. And the man of the hour, special guest Sean Kenny, is a author, an artist, a creator, a portrait maker, a sculptor, I think I put funny voice performer in the description. We can talk about that a little bit. But I've had the pleasure of working with Sean a bunch for a period of time we don't have to say to date ourselves.
Maybe 10 years?
Yeah, something like that. We actually did meet at a fan event in person for the first time.
Yes, something.
And this is your first fan event in a couple years, right?
Yeah, this is probably the first fan event I've been to in at least 6 or 7 years, so it's been way too long.
So please give Sean a warm Brickfair welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Pagano. I'm a filmmaker, a storyteller, all-around cool guy, and because Sean and I have a rapport, I felt that this would be a good way to present Sean's works and sort of make it more of a conversation than you pontificating. I think that's what your words were.
Yeah. I could just babble on for like 2 hours and watch you guys nodding on and get louder when you start to nod off a little bit. But David and I, we share studio space and have for a couple of years.
Correct.
And so we have a lot of really interesting quote-unquote water cooler conversations, when we're like, or out getting a cup of coffee in the front area or something. And so we thought it would be neat to kind of bring some of those things that we normally talk about what we do, using the Lego brick, both in professional ways and also as artists.
Yeah.
It's probably things that you guys all think about, talk about, and you can share those ideas. I don't know, we have nothing prepared, so sorry to start.
I believe, as with the other panels that I've done today, somewhere there are index cards that you can write questions on. It takes them. No, there are no. We're out of index cards. There are Post-it notes that you can now write on your questions.
Are these actually Post-it brand notes? Did you check? Because otherwise, all the Legos in the building could be made by anything.
They are Band-Aid brand Post-it notes.
Oh my God, they're actually Post-it brand.
There you go.
Right, straight from 3M.
But one of the things that Sean and I talk about a lot is this idea of, we both use Lego bricks to make the things that are in our heads come into the real world. And I think we have a lot of thoughts on whether it's enough for something to just be Lego, or if there is, the way we often describe this conversation is Lego and Lego bricks and Lego toys can be the beginning of the conversation, but in terms of art, they shouldn't be the end. There should be something more to it than that. And maybe you can talk a little bit about how that informs your work and your philosophy.
Yeah, I think that's always one of the most succinct ways of describing it. David actually used that phrase when we were talking once. Lego can be the start of the conversation, but shouldn't be the entire conversation, or shouldn't be the end of the conversation. The idea being that, a lot of times, we're all making things because we want to express something, we think something's cool, we want to build a model of something, we want to set it up, we want to show people, but as an artist, and as a person who's doing this professionally, I don't want that to be the only thing, right? Because there's only so much of look at what I made, right, that's going to feed the audience. And so I feel like if Lego is the hook that's going to bring you in to take a look at something that I made, or maybe I'll have a big exhibit in the Science Center or something like that, people will say, come see the cool stuff here at the Science Center. And then you come and you look at it, I don't want you to stand there and be like, wow, look at that, that's all made out of Lego bricks. I don't know how they did that, right? And then you don't have anything else there, and it's just sort of like, okay, that's a horse, or whatever it is that you made, And so I always feel like there's got to be something else. Like if Lego was the hook that got you to come to the Science Center, to see the exhibit, or to come here and see all this, I always want there to be something else. And so that something else is I suppose, especially within all of you guys as creators as well, going to be different depending on who you are. For me, when I create my work, I want it to tell a story, or maybe express some kind of feeling, or take a piece of me. somehow and put it into that piece. You know, a good example.
We should say these are all works of Sean's art behind us. This isn't just random. I mean, the watermark probably gives it away, but you're looking at a body of work from, was it since 2005 probably?
You know, I'm not sure. I kind of grabbed a random spattering of just like things that show the breadth of just stuff that I do, whether it's portraiture or sculptures of natural forms. And there's also, original cartooning, and that's not Photoshop. Those are those things you stick your head in, you know, and take a picture of. As well as some of the behind the scenes in my studio in Brooklyn and some of the stuff that we have to do in order to achieve our creative goals. We can get into that in a bit, but yeah. So this is just sort of a random thing that, you know, maybe will give you guys some context as to what it is I do, so that as I'm talking about it, you have a better idea. But anyway, as I was saying, you know, I try to think about, you know, like if I'm creating a piece, I want it to somehow have a piece of me in it. I want to try to imbue some life into that piece or some humanity into that piece. You know, like the sculpture that I have over, if you haven't yet been over the little area, I've got a few pieces over there. There's this big sculpture of a mother and her two kids riding this bicycle and they're coming back from the grocery store with their bags of produce and stuff. I call that Back from the Market with Mom. And that to me is like a super personal piece, you know? If anybody else wanted to create a sculpture of like people on a bicycle, there's no way it would look like that because it's got so much of a connection to me. You know, those are cartoon drawings of my family. That's my wife and my kids. That's the kind of bike that I ride around in Brooklyn. That's how I get to the store, get to my studio, and get the kids to school and stuff like that. But beyond that, beyond the actual visual thing that's there, the whole reason that I wanted to do that was because I really believe that, especially in cities and looking around at the rest of the world, you know, we don't need more car infrastructure inside of our cities. We need more stuff that gets people like that onto the road so that they can do those things safely without being killed. And so I wanted to, rather than be a downer about it, portray, you know, normal people doing normal things and having a really great time in the process. And that's really what I experience when I'm taking my kids around on that bike. And so that's kind of what I mean about like taking something else that's from me and putting it into that thing and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that piece definitely strikes me as like intensely personal and creative. And I think that's why I think that comes across in just like when we were standing over the other day and like people were seeing Lily next to it and she's making the same face, like it's capturing not only an idea and poses but also personality and life and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's good to, for some people who may not be as familiar with your work, it's good to maybe use that as an example insofar as the elephant in the room, not a Nature Connects elephant, because I don't think one of those exists.
Hasn't done one yet.
Right, but there is more to, maybe talk a little bit about how you perceive Lego as an art medium, because there's Lego bricks there, certainly, but there's also internal stuff that makes it all possible.
Yeah, right. So, that's the elephant in the room?
I think it has been framed in the past as an elephant, whereas for some of us it's maybe more a mouse.
You know, we get that, which one's the 400-pound gorilla? Is there one of them's is there a 400-pound gorilla?
I'm just picturing that joke book that I've named your daughter, which is like, how do you tell if an elephant has been in your refrigerator?
Footprints in the peanut butter.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, so David and I are cut from the same cloth. We didn't rehearse that. So the elephant in the room, yeah. So for me, you know, like everything that I do, like serves the original creative vision, right? So in the case of that bicycle, you know, or any of the sculptures that you're seeing up here, for me, I never say like, well, what would be easy, you know, to build, right? Or what would be possible? Or I don't think I'll ever get that many perfect pieces, so let's not even think about it. Like I don't think about anything that way when I start, right? It's more like I have an idea in my head, or I make a drawing, or we're brainstorming and we want to tell a story about something, so this is what's important to us. And so everything that I and my team of assistants that help me do is there to kind of feed into that creative vision, right? And so, the case in point, you know, to make a sculpture like that, and to be able to make it possible to get it from Brooklyn to here, right, and everywhere else in the world, right, we have to think about the transportability of this thing, right? We have to think about the rigidity of it. Our kids are going to climb on this thing, right? And so when I create these sculptures, and we spent a year on that sculpture, right, full time, right? So when we create these sculptures, we don't want them to break. We don't want them to fall apart, right? When I ship these things around the world, I'm not flying with them, right? We We have truckloads of sculptures that are on exhibition right now in cities I have never visited because I need to know that I can send them off and they're going to stay together, right? So I glued every single piece, one by one, together to create this final sculpture. And there's no cheating, like I wouldn't slap them on the side or something like that. Like, it's all possible.
Right, to be clear, the gluing is to make it not come apart. The gluing is not to achieve techniques that are impossible for the Lego system.
Yeah,
I think that's an important distinction to make.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so, in addition to, we'll have a big steel frame on the inside. Like, if you go look at that thing, you'll see there's an aluminum plate down the bottom. And then mended to that aluminum plate is a steel armature that goes up into the bicycle, right? So that that thing doesn't suffer from shock or compression while it's in a truck or something like that. And again, the whole thing could still be built the way it's built, you know, without the steel, without the, you know, the aluminum base, without the glue. But I need to know that it's going to stay the way I made it, you know, for many, many years to come, especially because there's so much time to put into this. But that then actually begs the bigger question, which is what you were getting at, which is when is this a quote-unquote model build with Lego bricks, right? If I got aluminum on the inside, right? Like, is that cheating, right? Is that a non-purist thing? You know, and I think we all have our own version of purism, right? Like many people, I would never glue, right? Many people, I would never cut a piece. I would never use a third party, like maybe a clone thing or some of the stuff that folks make in the other hall there, right? But like, everybody's got their line, you know, to between what is a purist creation versus someone cheating.
It's funny, I was at an event very similar to this, where we were attending a talk that was about quote-unquote purism in Lego mod creations, and the presenter was very adamant that anyone who uses metal armatures, that's not real Lego art. But on the other hand, he was more than willing to find a third party to manufacture unique bricks of colors that Lego does not actually make. So for example, Lego doesn't make like a 2x8 reddish brown brick. So he was fine with that. Was fine. You can do that, but metal, that's where you draw a line.
Right. Well, and it's interesting because everyone would have a reason for why that would be the case.
And his argument was, well, Lego might make a 2x8 reddish brown in the future. To which we were all like, well, you know, in the future there might be Lego sculptures in space. There's no gravity there, so you wouldn't need the metal armature. And at that point, you know, we're just anticipating future space art displays.
So now if I glue two 2x4s together, can I call that a 2x8 or is the glue making it cheap?
How long is this patent?
Yeah, right. So that's the interesting thing about it, right? And you know, so for me, like we stumbled onto this description of it once recently. Like for me, it's sort of like we need to work within the language of the Lego system, right? Like we need to work within what Lego is, what it's meant to do, how it's meant to connect, right? And how that's the fun of it, like figuring out how parts fit together and stuff like that. You know, but at the same time, in order for me to be able to show people what I do, it needs to get out of the building. It needs to travel around the world. You know, it needs to withstand the rigors of public display, or being set outside, or things like that. And so it would be disingenuous for me to say that I have to do it this way that's going to make it so fragile that it will never be able to accomplish its initial goal of getting out there and being shown to people. You know, imagine if like, for some reason, oil paintings could never like be exposed to oxygen. Like, then what would painters do? How would they hang them on the wall and show people paintings? Like,
hold their breath for a really long time.
Yeah, I don't know. They would have to treat it with something, and then they'd be like, "Oh, well, it's not oil paint anymore." What are you talking about? Like, that's how you do it. You know? So that's the kind of the interesting thing too, you know. And so I think I always wanted to be real in that way. You know, like I want you to look at it and still say, yeah, I see how this was done. You know, I could do this too. You know.
I think that's a big part of why we get along when we have these conversations, is this idea of something inherent in the work that we are interested in. It has like that sort of like, come join us, like this invitational thing. And I think when you stick to the Lego system, you automatically have that, because anyone looking can be like, oh, this is like a hilariously giant sculpture, but I can see like, oh, those two pieces right there, the way those are connected, I understand that, and I have those pieces. And even if it's like a minute thing, sorry, I was hoping that the goats were going to come back up where but even when it's like a minute thing, like there's something still inspiring that someone else can take away and use for their own work, regardless of whether it's bigger scale than this or super teeny tiny.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of the things that like you look at a lot of the sculptures that the Lego do like a giant build sculpture of a Lego Friends character, or whatever the kinds of things you see at the malls and the road shows. And they go out of their way to actually produce elements that they don't release to the public, just so that they can build that sculpture for that display.
Q elements.
Those are called Q elements. You can put that in your diary, and then next time you meet a Lego boy, you can harass them for Q elements. They'll never release them. The Q is some info code they keep in their internal databases that means not for public consumption, right?
It stands for quit asking us to make these.
Quit asking us. Quiet. And it's funny that they actually produce these elements, because you think about just the global logistics of making like tens of thousands of types of elements into quantities of millions, warehousing all that stuff, right? And then they're going out and making some things just for their model shops to actually put together and produce, these sculptures. And there's something I think kind of disingenuous about that, because if the whole idea of creating this larger-than-life sculpture is to sort of say, like, I've taken this thing that everyone has and brought it to another level, like to show you, like, here's what I can do when I flex my muscles with it. It's disingenuous for them to say, oh, well, we also cheated, right? Everyone has their own definition of cheating. And made some of our own materials that we don't let you use.
I feel like the thing that I always like that you tell people at events like this is, like, I don't have anything that you don't have.
Yeah.
So it is amusing for the Lego group to have this sort of facade that is like, well, actually, we have a lot of stuff that you don't have. Sorry about that. But this is Jack Sparrow. It's the exact skin tone that Disney approved. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, well, I've told you that story, right?
You probably have, but I don't know if these guys have heard it.
So if any of you saw the life-size, 6-foot-tall sculpture of Jack Sparrow that the model shop, the Lego company model shop produced when the Pirates of the Caribbean sets came out, Eric Garcetti is a designer. If any of you know him, he works for the Lego company out in Enfield. He's a great guy. He's a super talented artist. And so he took the lead on the design of that sculpture. And it looks just like Johnny Depp. I mean, it's amazing. It's all the details and everything you can imagine. And so they needed to get the design approved by Disney on the rights. And so they looked at it, and I think he used dark tan for the colors, the skin color. Or maybe it was tan. I forget.
I can't remember.
I don't know. And Disney looked at it and they were like, oh, well, that's great, except the skin's a little in between, these two colors, so use something lighter. And now this is the guy that works for Lego. He's like, but that's not a thing. Like, you can't do that, right? Like, there's tan and there's dark tan. There's no dark here.
Medium dark tan?
It's cool sand tan. That's not a thing. And they were like, you're Lego. Figure it out, right? And so they were like, oh. And so, the model builders are people like us. They know how to build models. They don't know anything about production and manufacturing. That's all from Denmark. These are guys in the United States. And so they went up and down the supply chain, in and out of QA, molding and manufacturing and everything. And they finally figured out, the answer was, yes, we can run a custom color for a custom project, but the minimum purchase is $1 million. So Disney said, okay, and wrote a check. And that is why Johnny Depp Lego looks like Johnny Depp.
Worth it.
Yeah, like, come on, share the wealth. Like, give us some of that.
And I mean, doing commissions for not only the Lego group but a myriad of other clients, you've run into very similar requests, and I think maybe some of those stories could be interesting and dipping into.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't do as much now, but when getting started doing this professionally, I would do a lot of commission work. I would sort of wait for the metaphorical phone to ring, and someone would say, hey, can you make a model of my logo, or a portrait of my kid, or a model of our ugly industrial product?
To be clear, at that point it was a literal phone.
It
became a literal phone later.
That's true. We have a back phone now at the studio. It blinks red when we need a commission. It means I should run away because it would probably be annoying. So people would call and ask us to make stuff, and at the time it was just like I was coming out of an AFOL, sort of life as well. I had a day job, and it was just cool to do anything, and it made it to play, right? But yeah, the folks that are sort of out there on the periphery of Lego understanding don't really understand. Like if there aren't a lot of bumps on it, that's not Lego. Why didn't you use Lego pieces? Like that kind of thing. But yeah, I remember I did a large logo sculpture of the Chase Bank logo, the big octagon, the blue thing. Which was its own gravitational thing because it floats in the air. But beyond that, they were adamant that it be their exact Pantone color. And they said it had to be, right? Like corporate, and they wouldn't approve it or whatever. And it was sort of like, that's not a thing. There's blue, and there's dark blue, and that's about it. And this is before Azures and any of these things happened. This was probably over 10 years ago. And so I looked at the Pantone swatch and I was like, this is close enough to blue. I mean, it's blue. Blue is blue. And so I did this whole thing, 7-foot tall sculpture. It took me, I don't know, like a month or something full time to build this thing and brought it out to the trade show. And the vendor was just like, I'm so glad you got the color perfect. Like, well, you know, only the best.
And you know, talking about like how you sort of progressed from being someone who took commissions primarily to being someone who is more like pursuing their own original art creations, maybe talk a little bit about, go back even further, like what kind of like, at what point did you become a Lego fan? Like how did that all get started?
Oh, well, that's too old. I mean, I was born a simple child. Starting at the very beginning is probably a story similar to most of yours. I was like the Lego Maniac kid who found pictures of me when I was 2 stacking bricks together. Like, oh, it's just that toy that was always there. I grew up and got a regular job like most people do. I was taught to go to school and get good grades and, you know, go to college and find a good company to work for or whatever. And I did all that. And I wore a suit to the office and the whole thing, but I would go home and play, like I'm sure all of you do. Yeah, at some point I was kind of fed up with work, and I quit my job and I went home and I was noodling around and I was building some. I live in New York City and at the time in Manhattan, and so I was building models of some of the buildings that I would walk past. And not your classic, you know, Chrysler Building, Empire State Building, Grand Central, but like regular New York stuff, like the random little delis and things like that just made it feel authentic. And so I just kind of was doing that stuff for fun, and this was kind of at the dawn of the internet in the late 90s and early 2000s. So I was sharing my stuff online on all the forums, and you know, people started stumbling onto my work and calling me and asking me to make things. And I should probably remember, I don't remember what my first commission ever actually was. My first commission was actually from a friend, so that really can't count. Like, because it was just like, could you make me a thing? I was sure. But I started to kind of position myself as like, hey, you know, we get called, I can make anything for you. And so I put together a little website that was just kind of, I had this really cheesy tag, like, if it could be imagined, it can be built. Which was my way of saying, I don't know what, I would just call me, I'll make something for you.
Less lyrical.
Yeah, it doesn't have as nice a ring to it. I don't know. But at the time, this is going back almost 20 years ago, at the time, you know, I was just like so excited. Like someone called me, I remember once one of my very early commissions was just someone wanted like a little candy bowl for the center of a table at a conference that they had, and they just wanted their logo on the side of it. And I was just so excited to do it. I mean, it only took me a day. It was kind of just mostly rectangular, but I built their logo, and I had little minifigures. They were construction companies, I had little construction minifigures doing stuff on ladders on the outside of the bowl, and just made it kind of like look really pretty. And it took me way too long. I probably spent, you know, far more on bricks than they paid me, you know, and so all my labor was free, but it was fun to know that I was getting paid, you know, to actually do this thing that I previously had to try to carve out time for to do on the side. And so as I started doing more and more of those little gigs, I was able to start having things in my portfolio, and people would start stumbling onto me more and asking me to make things like a portrait of their children or something like that. And so the more things that you do, the more you can illustrate what you do, what you're capable of, and what your aesthetic is, and what your work looks like. And so by about 2005, I remember I had gotten a request to do a commissioned work. It was going to be a whole city, and they wanted the minifigures to actually walk around. I said yes. Anyway, that's another story. But it was this whole city was going to be set up at a trade show display. And it was one of those things where I needed to work on it full time in order to have enough time to do it. It was one of those things where it was like, I had enough work to do it. It wasn't enough work to occupy me full time, all the time. It was, but somehow automated the healthcare process. Like they had a digital platform that kind of brought together the patients and the doctors and the insurance companies and the medical labs and kind of like, I don't remember exactly.
How did the 8-foot tall building figure into that?
Well, so the idea was what we cooked up together, and I think I'm probably mostly at fault for thinking these ideas up with them, was that we would create this city that was sort of like the community of actors involved in the healthcare transactions. Like, you go to the doctor, so there's a hospital, right? And so you're at the doctor, and you don't know what the healthcare coverage is going to cover, so you need an insurance building, an office building for the insurance company. And then you're the patient, you need your house, there's grandma's house, you know, and then there's like Walgreens where you're going to go pick up your prescription. And so we kind of made this whole thing, and they said like, oh, it'd be really cool if we could have all this stuff kind of going in and out between all these things. And so my father's a model railroader, and any surprise why I turned out the way I did. My mother's a preschool teacher. Marry them, you get me. And in his model railroad, he had it was an ice rink that had little ice skaters on it, and magnets would pull around underneath the ice, and they would make the ice skaters move. And I was like, oh, I'll just do that, right? And yeah, that's hard. With minifigures on base plates that, and I tiled them, and there were too many seams, and I was trying to do motor stuff underneath with Technic, and I don't do Technic very well. So I contacted the local robotics organization that was in the city, which was like a club for like building robots. And I said, like, where do you buy like gears and motors that are real robot gears and motors? They were like, oh, well, we usually have to have the machine for us, so when we're prototyping, we use this excellent product platform called Lego Mindstorm. You should look into it. And I was like, so anyway, needless to say, long story short, they walked poorly, but they sort of walked, and it required a lot of babysitting. But the client at the top was not happy, but the client at the booth loved it. So everybody who had interacted with it thought it was awesome. But anyway, so yeah, this was this project that I had to do, and so I kind of, it was convenient. My wife was out of town for like a month on a business trip, and so I had the whole time to just build this whole thing. And anyway, to make a long story longer, the whole idea there was that it was like, let's just try this commission project and see if, see if it can keep you busy. And the nice thing about it was by the time that was done, I had another little one lined up, and I was like, well, let me do that one. And then I did that one, and by the time that one was done, I had another little one lined up. And these are little things, it might take me a day, they weren't all like 3-month projects. And so I figured, let me just traipse this along until we run out of steam. And so here we are, it's like 15 years later, and we haven't run out of steam yet. But to the point of your original question, one of the really interesting things about it is that I've watched myself go through this kind of like arc of creative, I don't know what you would call it, this creative arc, where in the beginning it was so exciting to be doing anything with Lego bricks. Like to build, like someone wants to pay me to put together a model that I'm going to build and have fun with, like I do that for free, right? And so I was so excited. I remember when I quit my day job and I was just like laughing to myself. I remember driving myself to like a Home Depot to get some of the hardware materials I needed for the base of this city, thinking like, I'm getting paid right now to drive to Home Depot. I'm going to buy a hand truck. My client bought this hand truck for me, and I'm going to own it forever. Like, it was just, I was laughing about it, right? And so that was the whole first period. There were many years where I was just tickled to be doing anything, be building anything with Lego bricks and being able to get paid for it, you know, and to even be able to turn a profit on that. You know, you get smart about how to charge stuff after you make a few mistakes in the beginning. But then as things go by, you know, you're sort of like, you know, basically in creating something for someone, I like to say you have to become someone else's paintbrush, right? Like someone wants to execute some particular vision and you're the guy they called to do it. And what I started finding was happening was that people had heard there's this idea that there are people that make these crazy Lego things, right? And then they kind of already go into the creative thinking like, oh, we're gonna have a display that looks like this or does that. It's gonna be a bridge that's 15 feet long, or we're gonna have like cars, I don't know, on it or something. And so then they call you and say, all right, we need a 15-foot long bridge and it has to have 22 cars and they have to have our logo on the side of all the cars. And so, you know, like, like I had a really hard time trying to say like, I can think of ideas too, you know, and I think I'm a creative person. I can help you come up with these ideas. And so it became tiresome to only be able to execute, right? To only have to just do the things someone else wanted me to do. You know, I've always been an artist. I'm a cartoonist and I'm a graphic designer. And when I had my office job, I was always doing creative work in tech and digital. And so for me to sort of be relegated to sort of being like a plumber or a general contractor where it's just like put the plywood up and then, well, you know, our architect has already designed this, you know, that kind of thing, felt really creatively stifling.
Not that there's anything wrong with those jobs, but I understand what you're saying.
I am not built for that.
You want to be the person who's sort of overseeing the whole thing as opposed to the executor.
Yeah, and not overseeing in that like I have to be in charge kind of way, but just because like my brain isn't built to just simply do the thing someone else wants me to do. Like I can't just do that. I feel trapped, you know? And that's part of what I didn't like about having an office job. That's why I wanted to quit that whole world. And so like whenever I could, I would try to just like do that thing I wanted to do anyway, you know? And so I remember probably about 7 years into this whole endeavor of creating, you know, being a professional builder of Lego bricks, I really started getting itchy to just create my own things. And so I've created these really like abstract, weird, and I admit dumb and ugly things that were just me like trying to just like break free of just like the same old stuff. Like I made your logo, I made your portrait of your kid, I made a model of your building, or whatever it might be. And so I created some really, really weird abstract things that just kind of like, I don't know, I guess I felt like I was being an artist, I was being artsy, and like, I don't know, like, you put on your artiste hat with capital A, and, you know, now I'll make this weird abstract thing that expresses my angst.
You wear a beret and you have a pencil mustache.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't wear my beret today, yeah. But for example, like, in 2008, which now looking back 11 years ago, was when China had, yeah, David shaking his head, we're old. 2008, the Olympics were in China, and my wife is Chinese, so it's the standard reason that half my family was Chinese, and so we were incredibly proud of China being able to stand up on the world stage. And so I had decided I wanted to make a sculpture about that. And so this is when I was in my angsty, abstract sort of phase. And so I thought that, you know, this idea that China was going to be sort of up on the world stage for the first time. The last time China was on the world stage was probably that photo of Tiananmen Square with the tanks and the man standing in front of it. And everybody knew that there was tough times in China, there was a lot of poverty, and it really picked itself up by the bootstraps. And it was, you know, the world was about to see what China had become in the last, you know, 25 years or so. And so I thought, like, it's going to show this sort of infinite future that the country has. So it was 2008, and I thought 8 looks kind of like infinity, right? And 8 is also a lucky number in China, and so the more 8s you can have, the more luck you have. Like a wedding, you always have double 8s as a character that also means that we're happiest. And so I made this sort of Mobius strip-looking infinity 8 that looped around. That was exactly 80 Lego bricks tall, and a base that was 88 Lego bricks wide, and 8 there was all these 8s, it was great. And around the base written in Chinese were all these Olympic sports, and draped over the center was this like white cloth in the center of the 8 that represented sort of the tranquility and the peace and the kind of open-mindedness that the world has to the Olympics, like let's put down our differences and just, you know, compete as friendly nations and stuff. So I made this thing. It's really weird looking, you know, it looks exactly like you're probably imagining. No one's ever wanted to show it anywhere for any reason. It sat in my studio, and I think it's broken now, and it just sat there. But like, that was something that I needed to just do to get something out of my system, and I didn't care whether or not anybody put it on display. Like, I just had to do it, you know what I mean?
Right, that wasn't the purpose of the
Correct.
The purpose was you, and I think this comes up a lot when, you know, we talk about your entire body of work, is that the things that I think are most personal to you is just like, I don't even know what the right word is for it. It's just like, you can't help but have this like innate need to get this thing out into the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that the cargo bike sculpture again that's over there is a great example of that. Like, no one asked me to make that. No one commissioned it. It wasn't designed to be part of a traveling show that was about bikes or something like that. It was just like, I had to make that, you know? And when you're talking about a model that's that big, like that's an enormous financial commitment and a time commitment, right? And a creative commitment to actually do that. Like, I had to sit down and say, all right, well, yeah, I'm going to spend $6,000 on all this welding work that this fabricator is going to do for me. I'm going to spend a couple grand on a crate, and I'm going to spend a couple grand on Lego bricks, and I'm going to spend, I don't even know how much, on a couple hundred hours of labor having my assistants help me build this thing. Like, that's a huge thing to just do. And not everybody has that money. I'm not a rich guy, but like I've tried to figure out how can I get these annoying commissions to fund that kind of stuff, you know, so that I can actually, you know, pay the bills and then also have the time and also the money to be able to afford to create these things. And that, I think, is something every artist struggles with. I know you do too as well.
It reminds me of like the actor who does like the dopey big budget blockbuster so that he can then do pushy, but they can then do like the smaller indie films that are really like
that no one watches.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes their career. He was so good at Transformers 9. Why did he do that meaningful garbage?
But it's interesting, like, even thinking about something as far back as the, whatever the heck that piece was called where the people were walking in.
Oh, the connected community.
Yeah, but even like, from there to thinking about like something like Back from the Market with Mom, I think, you know, one of the overlaps in both of our work, because I'm a filmmaker and you're a sculptor slash portrait artist slash all the other slashes I did earlier. But I think in both cases, like, we both had this curiosity about the Lego brick as a means to tell stories and as a means to, even like in like a static form like this, to get stories out there. And like, I think that you can already see that in something like what was it, the Connected Community? That sounds so Epcot. I love
That
it.
was their name, that wasn't my name.
Yeah.
I think the company's name is Health Vision, so that gives you where their creative level was. The Health Vision, Connected Community. You can picture it in Walt Disney World.
That's what I'm
in the
saying.
part they didn't update it and it's still left over.
Well, this is the Health Vision. So this is where the funny voices part of the performance comes in. And I knew this was going to go.
What was that beeping? That was great.
That's like the Star Tours when you're waiting in the queue and it's like the next shuttle leaving for Endor.
Well, there, Connected Community.
Yeah,
that's connected our community.
Oh, sorry, we have some questions from the audience. Let's see here.
Keep sending them up, by the way. There's no format for this if you haven't figured out how this battle.
Oh, there's a format.
Oh.
And it's...
David's running the show, is what this is. The format is that there is no format.
So here's the yes, exactly. So here's the question. I saw a large sculpture, not yours, that was glued and then shifted. It couldn't be fixed because of the glue. What do you do to prevent this, and what glue? So maybe talk generally about...
Yeah.
Because I know, I feel like I can remember similar situations in the past with...
Yeah.
What are some glue stories that you
What are
have?
some glue stories? We got glued and shifted, so I assume, I don't know who asked the question, if I can wave with the hand who asked the question. Oh, there. So by shifted, I assume you mean that like something happened, maybe in transport or a public display that made it crack or move it away, should have. Who made that sculpture? You're giving us all a bad name.
We don't even name names.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh my God. See, that's cheating. But I think the root of this question is actually an interesting one, which is, you know, we glued this thing to be permanent. What happens when something happens, right? Because if you brought your mom here and it didn't make it all the way, you can just put the bits back on. Like, that's not hard, right? Maybe some grades are worse than others, and you've got to get re-engineered when you get back home or something. But yeah, so that kind of thing has happened to us a lot. I've never painted a sculpture, and I don't plan on, and I don't leave ugly holes because that's terrible. But no, you know, these things do happen, unfortunately. We had a case, actually, I don't even know if you know, David, just a few weeks ago, I think about 2 weeks ago, we have a huge sculpture of a dragonfly that's on display at an art museum in Chicago right now. And it has like an 8-foot wingspan. So the sculpture is fully glued, and then we have a metal bar that runs through each wing, and then another one through the body. And so then the wings kind of slot in to the body. Oh, did it just come up? All right, great. So there. And actually, Valerie, were you in that picture building it, I think? The big one. Valerie here used to help in the studio. Oh, that's the small one. Yeah, that's only 4 feet long. Anyway, the big one. So picture you've got a center body that has 4 metal receiving slots where you can slide in the 4 wings, and they're on these funny angles. So then the brick model for the wings are kind of off the grid. Well, as near as we can figure, because nobody has proof of this, it looks like somebody decided to climb up onto it, put 1 foot on each wing, and just stand on it for a
Jean-Claude Van Damme? Like that kind of
yeah, exactly. I don't know. Well, and the problem is that's what started to happen. So this person was standing on it, I'm assuming, allegedly, and their weight was so enormous, I'm assuming, that not only did the Lego sculpture break, but the metal bent. they actually bent the steel bars that were on the inside. So this steel bar that was originally just a straight piece of metal now has nearly a 90-degree bend in it, maybe like a 60-degree bend in it.
Great.
Yeah, it's nice. So I can't bend that metal back because it's going to just break when you try to bend it back. But more importantly, what happened was that the Lego bricks were built around the metal, so they kind of hug it, they kind of grab onto it. So as the metal bent, the Lego went with it, and it created this kind of separation. So the bricks started pulling apart and separating. And there's absolutely no solution for that. You can't bend that back. You can't press those big bricks back into place. And so, fortunately, since the wings are removable, we can remove the wings and just build new wings. And somebody's insurance is going to pay for this because I don't know how this works. But
it was like this when it showed up.
Yeah, exactly. That's also why we get all our. Yeah, that's the one. And there's that. So yeah. You know, part of the trick is that, like, we try to build these things kind of as bulletproof as we can so that kind of damage doesn't happen. But then when it does, it's very, very difficult to fix. You know, we have a similar problem where, you know, a lot of these sculptures for many years have been set outside. So they're set out in botanical gardens and arboretums and some zoos. They've been traveling the world doing this, but they're out in the sun. And we know that plastic and the sun don't get along. If you've been to Legoland and you've seen this condition of a lot of the models, insert random, everyone hates Merlin joke here, you know what can happen. I mean, think about a water bottle that's been left out on the street, right? It gets yellow, it gets brittle, you know, it cracks.
Like those boxes in like the pharmacy front window, like your local pharmacy.
Yeah. Or even just like old computer equipment, like you turn like from computer beige to computer beigey yellow, you know.
My old Super Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly. And so we suffer with all of that stuff. And so we had an instance where there was a storm and a tree branch came down, and we have this sculpture of a hummingbird, and it took the tail straight off the hummingbird. So this hummingbird is about 4 feet long, and suddenly it was about 3.5 or 3 feet long, and the tail was on the ground. So the problem was that it was a clean break, vertically, straight through. And it literally severed Lego bricks in half. Like it was like you took a knife through a stick of butter, right? And so there's no way to just attach it back on again. And so the case there, what we had to do was we actually had to go out on site, and overnight, we had to fly over there, excuse me, and we actually had to take a drill, and we had to drill into the inside of the model to create a hole inside the middle of this hummingbird body, and then another hole with the drill on the tail, and then get a large piece of metal and stick it into the body, and then slide the hummingbird tail over that piece of metal. And of course, now the thing can spin around on it, right? Or just easily slide off. So then we needed to use more Lego bricks on the top and on the bottom of the hummingbird body to sort of act like mending plates, right? To sort of hook these two halves together, right? The problem is, number one, you're changing the shape of the sculpture, which is not great. The other issue that we had was because the sculpture had been on the road for a couple of years, it had already started to fade, and so the colors didn't match anymore. And we were using dark green, and dark green, among many of the colors, is one of the ones that kind of has a mind of its own. And so, you know, we were putting on brand new dark green plates on top of older dark green bricks that had been faded. Not only that, but those bricks that we were putting on were not UV coated, so they were then going to begin an accelerated fading process and soon fade to and then beyond the bricks that they were on.
Could you explain what the UV coating is?
UV coating, right. So, you mean the process or the definition?
I just don't know. Maybe not necessarily everyone here knows
sure.
The steps you take to prevent outdoor exposure and that kind of stuff.
So most windows that you have in your house have a UV protected layer that protects the ultraviolet lights from coming into your home. And so the ultraviolet lights are what actually cause the plastic to fade. And so we actually go through a very complicated process of getting these sculptures basically wiped down and sprayed with a special UV protected lacquer that will hopefully reduce the speed of the aging, so reduce the effect of the sun on the plastic. It's not going to stop it by any stretch of the imagination, but the idea is it would slow it down. So put another way, if you take, and you can try this at home, take a Lego brick and go put it outside in your garden, and then watch what happens. Go back 3 months later and pull it out, and, like, let's say it's a red brick.
Tree at that point.
What's that?
It'll grow into a tree.
It will grow into a tree. It'll begin raining new Lego bricks down on. Anyway, that was a joke I gave. Anyway, go put some Lego bricks out in your garden and then come back out a few months later and hold up, and they'll look fine. You'll be like, hey, yeah, that red still looks red, that blue still looks blue. No. Take a new brick from inside and hold it up next to it, and it's not even close. Your red is like salmon, you know? And so the trick there is that if you UV coat the model, maybe the fading that you might normally see in 3 months might take 3 years, let's say, or something like that. That's actually what they do out in Legoland to try to prevent the sculptures from fading because they know that they're going to be out in the sun. But there's no stopping the power of the sun at all.
Just like in Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yes, because I saw that.
It's a game.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I assumed that there was some movie version.
Gosh, I wish.
Super Mario 3. There's no stopping the power of the sun.
Love it. Kind of tied into the Legoland conversation, you know, we didn't talk about how the sort of philosophy of like, I don't have anything you don't have in terms of Lego parts that are made and are not Q elements. There is the matter of volume, though.
Volume of bricks.
Yes, and one of the questions from the audience is where do you get your parts?
Where do I get my parts?
Because that's a lot of pick-a-brick walls to sort of unload to get all of that.
Yeah, well, so in the beginning, that's what I did. It was pick-a-brick and retail and bricklink and all the same stuff. I remember one of my early commissions, I had to create a logo that it was like a blue rectangle with some words on it, and then under it were just some black letters. And I thought, how am I going to create this sculpture? Because it has to float in the air with black letters under it. And I came up with this idea of building like a clear cube out of trans bricks, and then the colored cube would then be above it. And it was this huge thing. It was like the size of a refrigerator. And so at the time, yeah, that was the only way I could get bricks. And so I cleared out the pick-a-brick walls of trans 1x2 bricks in all of the nearest Lego stores that I lived near. Unfortunately, at the time, I lived in Austin, Texas. So the nearest Lego store was in Chicago. The second nearest Lego store was in California, and the third was in New Jersey. This was nearly 20 years ago. So in other words, I called people I knew in those towns and said, here's what pick-a-brick is. here's a picture of the thing I need.
First of all, Lego stores exist. I need you to go to them.
Yes, yes. So for the most part, and I think at this point too, because it was such a weird thing, even because a lot of the stores knew that we were a thing and we exist, and so you could go into like the Lego store in Bridgewater and they'd be like, oh, you're one of those people. Yeah, we have a special box in the back for when these requests come in. We're not going to dump them in the pick-a-brick cups and make you count them out. Like, here, this box is 20 pick-a-brick cups. Just pay for it and leave. So I did that, actually. I had my sister go to the shop in Bridgewater, New Jersey, and cleared out the trans 1x2 bricks. Sorry to anyone in the area who needed them in 2005. It was you. So, but the funniest story, though, was my in-laws who were in Chicago. This is my wife's parents, who I mentioned were Chinese. And my wife's mother doesn't speak much English. And so just picture these two people who are really, really out of their element, sitting on the floor in the back of the Lego store trying to explain what on earth their son-in-law does for a living and why they're there. They're lucky they didn't get kicked out. But anyway, I got all these transcripts for that. So, anecdote aside, that was what I did a long time ago. So right around the same time, I started talking with Robin Sager, who's he's based in Vancouver, and he does a lot of big events and builds big brick models at live events, kind of like the Lego company does, and he would do it in conjunction with Lego Canada, as well as some other folks, about talking with the Lego group and coming up with a way that they can help support people like me who are trying to do this sort of thing professionally and in the right way, to try to do it in the same way that the company otherwise would, but doesn't. Those conversations eventually created what became the Lego Certified Professionals program, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. The idea there was to reach out, for the company to reach out to people who were doing good work and in the name, sort of in the vein of the brand, and help support them in some way. At the time, too, the company was really struggling. We were talking about 2005, 2006. This is right after they nearly went out of business. They had just sold the Legoland parks off to Merlin Entertainments. They were about to die, and they were trying to be really creative about ways that they could reach out into the fan community and support it. At the same time, that was when the CEO would show up at a convention like this, and give a keynote and hand out, a lot of toys and stuff like that.
We were talking earlier. That's how I ended up working with the Lego group.
Yep.
They were just like, we'll try anything, whatever. Let's see what sticks.
Yeah. So we created that program, and we slowly grew it. Now there's probably 15 or so people around the world that are in this program. And so I was in the program for about 14 of those 14 and a half years that it's existed, but I recently left. And one of the perks of the LEGO Certified Professionals program is that you can purchase whatever bricks you want from them, and you just mail in a spreadsheet, and you have to pay for it, of course, but you can get everything you want. Part of setting up that process of bulk ordering LEGO bricks is what led to Love Vault, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with now. We actually had to create a process inside the LEGO company, because prior to that, they actually had no way of like bagging up big bulk bags of bricks and then shipping them to people. Like, the only time they would ever need to do that is if, you know, one of their own internal model shops was building a big model. They would ship it off to Legoland, California, or they would ship it to the model shop in Connecticut. And so we had to create that program, and I think the whole idea there was that they knew that it wasn't just going to be a thing that, you know, whatever, 10 people in the world would use. They wanted to create programs like Love Vault so that they could help, you know, support the community in the same ways that I was saying they were trying to help support us as well. So anyway, that's where I bought my bricks for the last, you know, decade and a half. The program started to change, and now it's more about having people that the LEGO company can call on to make models for them. And I don't really do that. I would help them every now and then if they needed help, but I'm more interested in creating things for myself now. And so it became not a right fit. And so we're talking about coming up with new ways that the company can try to support creators who are doing things that aren't necessarily going to be tied specifically to a product launch of theirs or other things like that. And that's all I'm doing right now. But where will I get my bricks? That's a different question. I'm not sure yet.
Well, I think that the sort of difference between what the LCP program started as and what it became is, you know, we're just about out of time, but I think that's, there's one more question here that I think is great to end on, which is if you could comment on or share a story regarding the power of art to create change.
The power of art to create change.
Because I feel like, I feel like you have a lot of opinions on this, even if your body of work hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
But even something like what you're saying about back in the market with Mom, like how that's a story about your family, yes, but also a story about cartooning, yes, but also a story about sustainable city transportation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I love that that's such a broad question too. You know, I mean, I think there would be no progress without progressive mindsets, and I think that you'd be hard pressed to find an artist who's not a progressive with a progressive mindset. Just, I mean, and going back, I mean, to the beginning of time, you look at the Renaissance and all these other things, and I think that, yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was having a conversation with a business partner of mine recently. We were talking about cycling and this sculpture specifically. And those that know me know I'm a big advocate for making our city streets safer. You know, I live in New York City. You know, I am sick and tired of seeing people die trying to bring their kids to school and other stuff like that. I'm very envious of the Dutch and the infrastructure that they have in the Netherlands. And even more so than what they've done, but how they think about it. Without getting into all that stuff, backstory there. So there are organizations that exist to protest City Hall and say we need change, we need improvement, we need, you know, more bike lanes, or we need narrower street crossings, or we need lower speed limits, or whatever. You know, there's people with the picket signs in front of City Hall. I could never do that, even though I am just as passionate, if not crazy more so, than some of the people out there with those picket lines. For me, my form of protest has to be my work.
Right, that's not how your brain works.
That's right, yeah. Like, if I have something to say, I'm going to make something, right? I'm not just going to go yell at people about it, you know? And so that's a big part of what I always try to do with my work, and I have that total freedom to do it. Another piece I think is a really good example of that is one of the nature pop sculptures that we made with people. So, that's very, very loud clapping.
That's a protest outside right now. I heard what you said about protesters.
The robots are applauding.
And so, to be clear, Nature Pop is one of your shows that is all sort of the animal sculptures, but in like a pop art style.
Correct. So we went with crazy colors, like a bright pink dog and a striped lawnmower, and there's, I think probably you saw a polar bear in a garden there. It's all blue stripes, you know, and it's meant to be evocative of stuff. It doesn't have to be literal. Like the polar bear could just be crazy blue stripes to you, but to me, it's more like it's what a glacier looks like an ice core of a glacier. And so it's just my kind of very subtle statement of what's going on in the North Pole right now. But another piece that I created, and I can't take all credit for it, one of my assistants, Jeffrey, who's an amazing artist that's been on my team for 10 years, came to this idea. We were doing a sculpture of an American bald eagle sitting in a very proud position. And I don't remember if it's in this slideshow or not. but we came to the idea of painting it in the pride flag, the rainbow pride flag. And so I've shown this now to LGBT folks who are nearly brought to tears.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because to me that not only represents something that is so like intrinsically American, the idea that like we have the right to stand up and protest for, you know, against rules that our government has imposed on us. Like that is intrinsically an American concept, and presently that's one of the most, you know, pressing topics that's on everyone's
Basic recognition of existence.
Basic recognition of existence, yeah. So, and without even getting into the politics of it, you know, that was my way of expressing something that I was feeling. You know, that was my way of saying, like, as soon as we came to the idea of rainbow pride flag, American eagle, I was just like, yes, yes,
that's it.
Yes, 1,000 times yes. I cannot imagine anything more perfect than this, you know. And so I'm not gonna march, you know, down on Pride Day. I'll cheer on, you know. Heck, I should set the sculpture up next time the parade goes by. It goes right by my house, the Brooklyn Pride. Man, that'd be a great idea. People can put bead necklaces around it and everything.
Y'all do that in the studio too.
Yeah, well, that's true. But yeah, but getting back to the question originally, I think that's the kind of stuff that artists are always doing because they're really just expressing whether it's a frustration they have with the man, you know, or with society, or they have something they need to get out of them. And I think that's the kind of stuff that can institute change. I saw a fantastic painting, and this was nothing to do with Lego, but this was a painting that was released roughly around the time when there was the whole Nazis marching in Charlotte and
yes,
good people on both sides or whatever that garbage was. There was a painting that made the rounds on social media of a small black child holding up a candy bar. You know, was going around town selling candy bars for his basketball team, or at least that's the subcontext. And a police officer, I think he had a Klan hat on, or maybe not, but he was pointing a gun straight at the kid's head, so the arms were crisscrossed. And the background of it was the Confederate flag, right? Huh? He did, thank you. He had a Klan hood on. So that image has stuck with me, right? And that image is the kind of image, not saying it is the one specifically, but that's the kind of image that rallies people together, right? That makes them unite for a cause, right? And you can, and I'm not going to say my pride eagle is going to do that, but you can imagine a situation where any artist, like the one who made that, was expressing something they were feeling, and it took on a life of its own, it picked up and became more than it was, and it got people together and rallied for change, right? And you can picture that same painting on a poster, right, in a march, right, on DC, right? And it says so much without having to say anything at all. And I think that's the power of art, and I think that's the power that art has to create change.
Absolutely. And, you know, tying that into the way that using the same pieces that are in the box at the toy store means that all of you can also do that.
That's right.
All of you also have that power. This was fun, Sean. Thank you for coming out to Brickfair, and thanks everybody for your questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of them.
Thank you.
We'll be doing this 2 more times this weekend, so if you didn't get to ask a question, or if you have other things you want to know about Sean, feel free to come back or find us at the show.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, everybody.